Hello, welcome back to Project Time. Quick video on the router table I made already quite a few years ago now. So basically I took a sheet of 3/4 inch plywood. I routed it out a little bit so I could get a bit more depth from my router. And I just attached it with some screws. And that basically gives you a base plate that you can use as you wish. And the router I'm using here is the Bosch POF 1200 AE, but basically you can use any router for this. Now, as you could see before, I also took off the base plate from the router to, again, get a little bit more depth out of it. And there's already 3 holes in the router plate itself that you can use to attach it to whatever you require. In this case, my plywood sheet. Now here I'm tightening up the screws just really quick, and as you can see, this router table has seen a bit of use already. I've left it outside for a little bit, so there's a little bit of weather in the wood at the moment. But nevertheless, it works as always. So now what you have to do is basically use a tie wrap around the trigger switch so that it's always on, and then I advise to use a normal electrical switch that you can use between the cable in order to turn it off and on. Now, if you use a router bit with a bearing on top, you can basically use the table as is. I also made a fence, you can see here. The benefit is that you can then connect a vacuum cleaner, so you get a much cleaner workspace, and virtually you're left with 0 dust. Now, if you make a fence, make sure it's exactly at 90-degree angle, because this will affect your work. And this fence is just completely loose. I just use a pair of clamps to clamp it to the table in whatever position I require. Now, in the past I've used this table for quite a lot of other projects, but here I was building a railing for my project that I'm working on at the moment, and I had to route these posts. They're about 1.20 meters high, or around 4 feet and a bit, and I just had to chamfer the edges here. Now, I strongly advise you take a pair of good stands to put this table on, unlike I did here. Mine are a bit crooked and my table was wobbling all around. Not ideal, obviously. Now, I had to make 50 of these identical posts for my railing, and it goes a bit easier with a router table than if you use a handheld router. I do, however, have a handheld router. This is the Makita DRT50, highly recommended. And on longer work pieces like this, that's obviously much easier, as it would be difficult to get them good to the fence on the router table. So for longer pieces, usually I use the handheld one. Now, thank you very much for watching. If you find this video useful, we appreciate a like and subscribe. Soon I'll be making a video of the rest of the railing that I'm making here. Thank you very much and take care.